How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the first of hopefully a couple videos that I will be posting that aren't horsepower rehab. Now, unfortunately, horsepower rehab will be on a small hiatus. There was an issue that came up with the Mustang. Jim is currently working on that in his spare time and probably rocking himself in a corner and crying a little bit. That's not the point. We will be talking about that in a different video in a different time. For now, we're going to be doing some work on my mint condition Porsche Boxster, or I should say near mint. So today, I'm going to be addressing an issue that I've had with the car for a couple of years. My car is as close to mint as you can find them. A couple of dents here and there, but nothing that can't be taken care of by a paintless dent guy. I have not taken care of it, but how hard could it be? But no, today we're going to be focusing on one that is mechanical, and more specifically a drivetrain mounting issue. So my car, being an M96 powered car, has a single engine mount, this engine mount. This is a 987 engine mount. It is supposed to be a little bit more robust compared to the one that's on my Boxster, but that's something we'll talk about a little later. My car actually has all of the signs that this has failed. This is the single, only one engine mount that is holding that big-ass flat six in, which would be really interesting if it hadn't failed in my car, causing the drivetrain to want to bounce up and down every time I let off or touch the throttle. Now, there are also two trans mounts that hold on the transmission, but Deutsche Rennsport replaced them for me when they did my IMS bearing 2 years ago when I bought the car. Yes, I've had this thing for that long. Yes, I have not made videos about it. There's a reason. It is supposed to be a mint condition Boxster, and I didn't want to have to do anything about it. Now, this pitch stop mount would be on the front of the engine facing backwards in a 911, which would be probably easier to get to than it is in the Boxster, which is on the front of the engine facing forward. The Boxster's drivetrain is just a 911 drivetrain, but rotated in the other direction, and some other things have changed as well. The problem is there's a firewall right in front of where this is mounted, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to get to, and hopefully less of a challenge for you to see. That said, this should get rid of a lot of the harshness in my drivetrain, and should make the car a lot more enjoyable. And as I said earlier, my mint condition Boxster is starting to show signs of age. It's nearly 25 years old, some things are starting to wear out. This will be the first thing that we're going to replace. Next, we're going to do some suspension work, because it wouldn't be one of my cars if it didn't need copious amounts of suspension work. But that's not something we need to talk about today. Today, we're going to be doing this. And that means we're going to need to get to the garage, because as you can tell, this isn't the garage. It's also hotter than hell up here, so it's something I need to look into. First step is going to be lifting your car with a jack and supporting it with some jack stands. Or if you don't want to do that, you could use quick jacks or call your friend with a lift. Mine didn't answer. Next step is going to be removing the underbody trays that are protecting the area that we want to get to. Now, I didn't know this at the start, but you do need to remove the front one that's covering up the radiator hoses before you can get to the one covering the engine mount. Also, I would recommend doing this off of jack stands or quick jacks, because it is nearly impossible to do when it is up on the quick jacks. With that out of the way, you can finally see the area we are going to be working in. Good lord, what have I got myself into? First thing you're going to want to do to make your life just a slight bit easier is remove the clips holding the radiator hoses to the engine mount. Now, you're going to need to remove these anyway, so this isn't something you can just work around. You're going to need to do that, and they look something like this. Welcome to Under My Porsche Boxster. Hopefully this is as uncomfortable for you guys as it is for me. I don't even want to know. Alright, so here's the mount that we're going to be taking off. This is the actual piece that holds this to the chassis. You can see here, this is the chassis rail. This is the mount that we're going to be replacing. You can see the bottom plate right here, and up there you can see the bushing mount. You have 1, 2, and then way up there, I don't think you can see that. Yeah, there you go. You can see that. That one. That one's going to be up. That's going to get that off, but before we can do that, I need to contort my head around here. We need to get these ones off. So there's 1, 2, and they're going to be under here, so you're going to need to do some manipulation to get the hose out of the way. And then over here you have 3 and 4, again under the hose. However, these ones appear to be way easier to get out, so that's cool. And I'm going to try to do that without dropping an engine on my head. And actually, I'm going to just give you a little, that's a transmission jack holding the engine on a piece of wood by the oil pan, and actually more specifically the piece of the casing back there. I don't particularly like holding this by the oil pan, however, it's what I can do because there isn't really much down here, and I don't have one of those fancy overhead crane things, so this is how we're gonna have to do it.
So if you're anything like me and you didn't want to put too much pressure on the oil pan of your engine, at this point when you're loosening all of these bolts, you may see the engine starting to shift a little. This isn't cause for concern unless you start seeing it shift a lot, in which case you might want to check whatever's holding the engine up, as it probably isn't set properly.
This bolt right here contacts the frame, because I'm assuming that they put this on before they put it in the car. I'm gonna have to hop out here real quick and lower this just a tad. Woo! Alright, so with this lowered down, apparently this should be pretty damn easy.
I've sped up the part where it wasn't very easy.
There's another one. I didn't realize this, but there's a second sneaky little bolt up here too.
Don't be afraid to manipulate the coolant hoses here. Sometimes you just have to give them a little bit of a tug to get this down. Just do be careful not to pull them too hard, or you could rupture them, which would be bad because in most cases you're directly underneath them and you would get a face full of coolant.
Okay. And we're free! These are the two bolts that I was trying to show you earlier, but it's too dark. Alright. We now have to go to the bench and separate this. Oh my god. So look at all this. So that's a failure in the bushing. So this was allowing the engine to buck up and down. Oh yeah, you can really see it there. That was allowing the engine to really buck and move, and I think side to side as well. Wow. Oh, there's a little rock in there. Huh, I had a little rock friend. That's funny. Yeah, this thing has definitely seen some better days. Doesn't look, like, visually, doesn't look too terrible when you just look at it, because this car doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of miles and hasn't seen salt and all that. But, like, yeah, that's not great. This is the new mount. You can tell by the fact that it's not completely ruined. Alright, so I did this on the ground this time, but these are 48 foot-pound torque. I chose to torque them without Loctite. Some people said do, some people said don't. I ended up not, because I don't trust Loctite with torque. It skews the torque results sometimes. If I have to do it again, I'll just do it again. It's not going to kill me. Alright, so the new one is on here. It is in the right direction. I'm gonna go put this back in the car. I need to sit down for a bit though, laying on my back for that long. Oh, the blood ran to my head, so that's not good. Also, I need to change gloves because these look worse for wear. But this is all good to get back in the car now, which is gonna be quite the process because the studs are still in the car on 2 of them and not on 2 of the other ones, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So let's go jump into it and let's see how hard this is.
I decided to speed up the reinstallation process, as it is just the removal process but in reverse. The only tip that I could recommend, and what you'll see me do here in just a moment, is remove the studs. They're just 7mm bolt heads on the end. You can just remove them with a normal wrench. It is worth doing, and it makes your life so much easier trying to get this mount in. Once you have that mount in, you can raise the engine back up. Now just replace the studs, put the bolts back on them, make sure they're secure. Once everything is secure, tighten everything down to 48 foot-pounds. I opted not to do the upper bolts as there is no way I could get a torque wrench up to them. Just do the lower ones and do all 4 holding in the lower mount and you should be okay. The top 2 are more locating pins it seems, but your mileage may vary. Once the engine is secure, very gently lower the jack. Once the engine is free of its jack, you can start replacing the plastic panels on the bottom of the car. I found that it was easier to do the rear one while it was off the quick jacks up on some ramps. And finally, secure your radiator hoses. Sorry about the jump cut everyone, but unfortunately I forgot to film an outro for that video, and I also forgot to film a conclusion, because there's a very high chance that you don't know if this actually fixed anything. Well, a lot of the harshness from the engine moving around did get rid of the jolts and jostles that I was feeling through the chassis, but one of the reasons that I did this was to try to get the motion out of the shifter. When it was in second gear, you could see it bouncing back and forth like that in my hand. That did not change. Now, I think I know why. Now, I kind of had a hunch this was an issue the first time, but I knew the engine mount needed to be done, so I figured I would try that first. My shifter is the original one. The 986 shifters are made of plastic and are very well known for having deterioration issues as they age. So, the only logical conclusion now is that I need to get a new shifter. Maybe a 997, maybe a 997 GT2 upgrade. Those are both good options for my car. Maybe I'll just get one of the ones that has the core that you just replace the intersection with. Who knows? But that's for a different video. The next video you'll see on this car will be the suspension upgrade. And hopefully we get some more horsepower rehab coming once Jim and I figure out what's going on with the transmission. And by Jim and I mean Jim. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new here. Go leave a comment. Go check out another video. Subscribe. If you're a returning viewer, go check out another video. I know you like them because you're a returning viewer. But as always, everyone, peace out.